Hi, it's Jess, and welcome back to another speed build in my Haven's Hollow save file. Today we are building a very different lot from what we've been building lately. This is definitely the most unique so far, I guess is the word for it. Basically, if you haven't seen other episodes in this save file series, most of the builds have been inspired by New England, specifically a richer side of New England, Cape Cod or colonial, those types of styles. So this one is quite different. It still has that Cape Cod inspiration to it, but definitely more of a low-income household. Probably the most low-income household in this save file. All the other households that we're going to make in the coming speed builds are very rich households. There's only 2 residential lots left that I'm going to create, and then 2 lots besides that. And those 2 lots are mega mansions in Cape Cod style. So this is very different, but honestly this might be my favorite build I've done so far. I don't know, this is a style of building that I like to do a lot. I like to have, this kind of run down, not as well kept style. And I think it's really fun to build this way. So that is why I think this turns out to be one of the better houses in my save file. It looks kind of strange right now, and I struggle a bit with the shell and the roofing. And by a bit, I mean a lot. And honestly, I should have cut it out, but I just simply did not have the energy. I missed last week. Last week I took it all off for filming because I was so sick and stressed. And I just could not deal with even playing The Sims. I didn't even play that whole week, so I had a nice break. And now I'm back, and I'm going to take a break again. I was planning to try and do consistent uploads until I left, which I am immigrating on February 18th officially, so 2 weeks away, which is so stressful even thinking about it, but basically I'm leaving the 18th, and I thought, I can do the consistent 3 episodes a week from here on out until the 18th. Yeah, not working. I'm stressed. I have so much to get done. So I'm just gonna say you might get one more speed build in February. There's a small lot in this neighborhood that I'm going to build a vet clinic on. But other than that, I'm going to take February off for the most part. I don't think I'm going to do any other builds. I might do some other videos, but I don't think so. So February, you can look forward to possibly one more video. But after that, probably nothing else. Maybe even into March. But I'm going to try to get back in March after I've settled in to my new place and my new job. But for now, I'm just going to focus on getting ready to leave and spending time with my family because I only have 2 weeks left with them before I move halfway across the world. I'm moving so far that I can not even call my family, because when they're at work or they're sleeping, that's when I can call them, and when I'm at work or I'm sleeping is when they can call me. So yeah, it's gonna be stressful and it's gonna be something I'll have to get used to, but I am looking forward to it still. I'm doing it for a reason. But it's stressful. So no videos for the rest of February, except maybe one speed build. And other than that, I'm going to take time off, spend time with family, get ready to leave, and then settle into work. And that's going to be my life for February. And I can't believe it's so soon. It's so stressful. Also, if my voice sounds terrible, I am still kind of sick. For the most part, I'm better. But my throat really hurts. So if I sound sick at all, I'm sorry. But maybe it fits with the vibes of this build. I feel like if you lived in this house, you'd definitely get black mold poisoning. So anyways, let's talk about this house now, since I've been talking about myself for a while. If you don't know my Haven's Hollow save file, it's basically a mystery save file where you go into the game and you have to solve a missing person's mystery. So in our world of Haven's Hollow or Brindleton Bay, we have Corine Sanford who went missing. Now we already built her house, we built her best friend's house, we built a whole bunch of community lots that you can go and you can watch the speed builds, or you can get them on my gallery. ID is listed below. And I lost my train of thought. Corine Sanford is our missing person. This house is the residence of the Mendoza family. So this includes Father Mickey Mendoza, who is kind of a deadbeat. He, drinks all day. He doesn't really have a job, maybe picks up odd jobs every once in a while. He doesn't maintain anything, and it's just kind of a mess in this house. And as a father, he's kind of like, do whatever you want, whenever you want. I don't really care as long as it doesn't impact me at all. Just do whatever. So not the best dad. Mom, Jean Carr, you can see different last names there. Jean Carr is not in the picture. She is like one of those typical, drama parents, like teen drama, where one parent goes off to travel the world and leaves their kids behind. That is Jean Carr. But for the sake of our story, she returns to Haven's Hollow almost exactly when the storyline starts. So she will be in town to interrogate and investigate and do interviews with. So you have that to look forward to. And then there's two kids who live in this house with Mickey. There is Marcus Mendoza, who is a kid. He is very small, very playful. He is very active. He just wants to do stuff all the time. He probably has ADHD or something along those lines, like an attention deficit. And then lastly, the most important character in this household is Malik Mendoza. Malik Mendoza is a teen. He is the same age as Corine, our missing person, and they're in the same class. Malik is a bit of a, oddball, that, weird kid that no one ever wants to be around. That's kind of Malik. He always wears all black. He listens to, metal music. He doesn't have any friends. That's the kind of vibe we get from Malik. But why Malik is important is not only because he's in the same year as Corine, but Corine is one of the only people that is nice to Malik, and because of that, Malik has a massive crush on her. Now this may or may not be important to the missing person storyline, but that is why this house is here. But yeah, that's him. And I think I captured the spirit of these family members a bit here. I put a lot of postcards in for, the mother sends her boys a lot of postcards, and they, hang them up on this, cork board and on the fridge. They just have a bunch of them from all over her travels. And then Mickey Mendoza, the father, he has a room that looks like a teen's room. He has not aged any. The ex-rock star now, deadbeat dad, drama, storyline. That's kind of what I get from Mickey. So that is her family, and that is who resides in this house, which I do think this might be my favorite build. It will probably be beat out by the abandoned boathouse build, but it's going to have a similar vibe to this. I love making builds like this. I just think they're so much fun, and they're a lot more fun than just normal cookie cutter builds that we've been doing lately. So I enjoyed myself making this speed build. Now if you just saw me put down a fire pit, I did some normal chairs, and then I put a little wolf chair, I guess, for Marcus. I think that's so cute, and I put a debug object with it. I put a lot of debug objects on this lot. That's one of the best uses of debug, I think, is to create a kind of rundown lot. I also put an old truck that doesn't work anymore, and a whole bunch of plants and trees. I want it to blend in and look like it has not been maintained ever, which is so different from the rest of the world. The rest of the world is almost perfectly maintained, perfectly manicured, gardens and trees, and there's like never any moss growing on walls or anything like that. This lot is very, very different, and it will probably be one of the more standout lots. But I do imagine there are a lot of lots kind of similar to this that exist not in our save file, if that makes any sense. Like, I've made a bunch of Sims storylines for like background characters who are added into the game but don't live in the world, and some of them are more similar to these lower income houses. But we do not get to see that because we have a very limited number of lots in this world, but we've got all that we need as far as the lots go. So this is definitely one of the more unique ones. It will be most similar to the abandoned boathouse, but as far as the lots that surround it, it's in the same neighborhood as 2 mega mansions and 1 really, really nice Airbnb. So it does kind of stand out, but that's kind of the fun of it. And I like that it's in the secluded place. I end up putting the private dwelling lot trait on it. So like only the brave of heart venture up here. But it's true because there's no road to connect it. You kind of have to hike up to get there. How did they get this truck up there? I could not tell you. But that's the general idea of this lot and how it exists in the save file. Now, as far as the save file goes, I've been working a bit more on the case file, which is my document that details the mystery and includes all interrogations and interviews and what's the word for it when like detectives go to a house and do a search for clues. I can't think of the word for it, but it includes that as well. And I've been working on it steadily. It has not gotten much progress lately, but because I'm taking most of February off for filming, I'm going to try my hardest to work on the case file. I'm going to try to bring it on the plane with me and work on it that way, so that I have, 1, something to do on the plane, and 2, I can develop the case file a bit more. But I have been working on it, and I think it won't be done by the time we're done building all the lots, but it will definitely be close to complete, hopefully. I still have a lot to write. It's a lot of writing. Like, this whole entire mystery is, like, the core of it is in the case file. I don't know if you guys know the Silent Pines save file, but that's what inspired this one. And even though I love the Silent Pines save file, and I love how you kind of get free reign to solve this storyline, it's really hard to figure it out when there's like nothing to guide you. You just get into the world and you're there. So I think this case file will be helpful because not only is it a bit more complicated of a mystery, but it will guide you to where you need to go, what you need to do, all the rules of completing the mystery if you want to like stick within the parameters of doing it in 2 sim weeks. Or if you like don't want to, that's also okay. You know, I just want to make this as fun and as detailed as possible. And maybe I'm biting off more than I can chew, which is entirely possible, but I think it's going to be really fun. And the different endings I'm super excited about. I know generally what the endings will be, and hopefully they will turn out to be great and I won't leave any plot holes. Anyways, right now you'll see me finishing up the outside here, and I end up putting a dog bowl and a cat bowl and a dog bed and a cat bed, and then you won't see it because I forgot about it after I stopped filming. Where did pressing come from? But I put a litter box outside as well. So I imagine they have a cat and a dog, both of which live outside. They're outdoor pets. I'm sure they're allowed inside, but you know, they sleep outside, they eat outside, they play outside. So that's the general idea. We're moving on now to the greenhouse, which does not function as a greenhouse anymore. I imagine Jane, the mom, might have, done some gardening, but I don't imagine she was ever good. But Mickey definitely does not do any gardening, so there's just like dead plants and weeds in these planting pots. But I think that makes it look cool. Most greenhouses that I've done, almost like actually every greenhouse that I've done has been really nice. And sometimes they're overgrown, but in a very lush way. And this is completely different. Like everything's dead. There's newspapers on the floor. There's bottles everywhere. There's cans. I imagine Mickey comes out here and just like drinks and looks at this dead garden, thinking of his past relationship with Jane and being like, where did it all go wrong? Very just emotional in this greenhouse. No one takes care of the plants in here. No one takes care of the plants outside. They just grow how they grow. And that's kind of it. But yes, I was talking about cat and dog. I imagine they have a male dog, probably a bigger dog is what I imagine. Maybe a pit bull or a Rottweiler, definitely more aggressive dog. Kind of a guard dog. And then also a cat, which is just like a stray that someone picked up. I'm not sure who yet. I'm sure I'll figure that out as I'm developing these characters a bit more. But just a stray cat that kind of just came and lived with them. But, she's an outdoor cat, so it is going to be a female cat. So we have the dog and the cat, and that accumulates to now 3 animals in this world, which is good because this is the cats and dogs world. Even though I'm making it a mystery save file, it's still the cats and dogs world. I'd like to keep some animals in it. I might also create some strays, but I don't know if you can create strays that exist as strays. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Maybe not. I'll figure it out as I go. But as far as animals go, I might add 1 more cat and maybe a dog. So at least 1 more animal, which make it 4, maybe 5, depending on how I feel when I get to the McMansions and the rest of this world. Now, the inside of this house is just as unmaintained as the outside. I think it ends up looking really cool. I love kind of the tight smushiness of it. I've been doing a lot of bigger builds, especially residential. The 2 other residentials plus, the Airbnb for a third, if you count that, have been pretty big. I mean, I guess the Airbnb wasn't too big, but because it's an Airbnb, you can't really add a bunch of clutter because it's just a place for people to come and stay. You don't have a lot of character in it. So this one has been a nice refresher from all the fancy New England homes. And, I just think it looks nice. It looks like people live here, which I love when you can achieve that in The Sims, because sometimes it's a little difficult. Sometimes you build something that's like, it looks like no one lives here, especially if you don't have a lot of packs. That's what I hated when I played just base game for a really long time, was that there's just nothing. Like, all your houses look the same, and they're all ugly, and it looks like no one lives in them. And back at that point, when I only had the base game, I did end up using CC furniture. But I like doing CC free because, people can't access your builds as easily if you do CC builds. Now, CC is phenomenal, and I wish I could use it more often, but I can make do with what I have in-game, and at this point I have enough packs to happily create something that I am more happy with than anything that I can make base game. And that is partially because I'm really bad at building. I cannot do base game only builds. I mean, I've tried, and sometimes they're okay, especially if you use debug, but most of the time they suck. I'm not the type of person that can pull off base game only builds. But this kitchen, so dirty, so grungy. I love it. I used a lot of city living items in this kitchen, and with like the walls, I ended up putting like a box of junk up on the fridge. I love doing that in like clutter, putting stuff on the fridge, whether it's like postcards on the front or items on the top. This kitchen is functional. I made sure to leave a counter open, which looks a little funny when everything else is super cluttered, but I did what I had to do. And I don't playtest my builds, which is probably a oversight on my part, but if they don't work, they don't work. And maybe I'll definitely playtest them before I release the save file, obviously. But another part of me is just like, in the save file, you'll visit these lots, but you're not going to live on them. But I will playtest these before I release the save file to the public, because it would be really embarrassing if I created this whole mystery and you have to like go into this house and go upstairs and find a clue, and then it turns out you can't actually go upstairs because there's something in the way. That would be funny. So I will playtest. It's just, it hasn't happened yet. Now this tiny living item that I just put down, I never use it, which is a shame because it's such a cute item. And I placed it down and it's in the build, in the upload, but I don't know if I'm going to keep it, because even if you can walk through that corner, it looks like such a tight fit with that shelf. But maybe it works out. We'll see. We'll see. One thing this house lacks is a dining room, but I imagine that this family eats on the couch watching TV. Like, they don't have a dining room. They don't sit and eat together. They go, I guess they sit and eat together, but what they do is they sit on the couch. They go and watch TV, probably stuff that isn't appropriate for, kids, but they watch it anyways. And that's how they eat. They don't sit down at a table like probably the rest of the Havens Hollow families do. They just go, they sit in front of the TV. Maybe even the kids go upstairs to their bedrooms and eat at their desks. I say bedrooms. The kids share a single bedroom. So Malik and Marcus share the upstairs, which is very tight and squishy. Almost an attic at that point. And there's 2 loft beds, and they have desks under them, and kind of using the most of their space because it's not very big. And down here I was able to fit a computer with a desk, which I think is good. If you are wanting to play this just as a lot instead of as a save file, it's important to have a computer on most lots, I feel like. Like most things, in a sense, a lot of careers require a computer. So it's always good to have there. Now above this computer is where I put the cork board with all the postcards on it from everywhere their mother has been. I imagine she sends them all the time, That's like, I'm in Europe, I'm in California, I'm in Taiwan. All those fun postcards. And I imagine that's the way she keeps up with them. I don't think she'd have a phone and call them. That's another thing I'm trying to figure out. I'm sorry, I'm just ranting at this point. I'm going off the rails because I finished everything I wanted to talk about and there's still so much time left. But one thing I haven't figured out yet is when this save file is set. If it was the real world, what time would it be set in? Would it be the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, current time? And I'm not sure. I'm thinking, as of right now, early 2000s, because all my inspirations for this save file are pretty much early 2000s. Gilmore Girls for, the small New England town in autumn has been a big inspiration, which is set in the 2000s. Pretty Little Liars, which also small New England town, but with a mystery, has also inspired this, which is yet again set in the 2000s. So I'm leaning towards early 2000s, maybe 2005 would be the time around, I'm thinking. I don't think I've added anything in the world that would contradict that time period, but I will check. I might have added a TV or a computer that wouldn't be around in 2005. So if I do end up committed to the 2005 storyline, I'll change that. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just decide this is set in 2025. I can't believe it's 2025. It's been 20 years since 2005. That's crazy. I'm like having an existential crisis over here. But I moved on to the living room now, which is where I think they eat their food. And I imagine, what's his name? Marcus comes down here and he, draws on the floor while his dad watches TV. And he makes little artworks. I just think that's really cute. And I just imagine Marcus is just such a sweet soul, even though his dad kind of sucks and probably doesn't really parent him. But maybe Malik is the one who kind of parents Marcus and does the things that need to be done for Marcus. I can totally imagine that. I feel like Malik is going to be a rather interesting character. I feel like people will either absolutely hate him or love him, which I feel like is the way with any character like his, where it's kind of like the weird kid, but he has a tough home life. But there's the whole question of, does that tough home life excuse, things he does? So, we'll see. You guys can come to your own conclusion when you play through and figure out Malik's life and how he relates to Corine and the storyline of the mystery. And he's definitely one of those characters that you can interrogate. I think you can interrogate him 3 times. He's definitely higher up there. I think he's around the same amount as Corine's ex-boyfriend. So he is definitely a person of interest in the case. Which, take that as you will. Because there's several people of interest in the case, and not all of them can be implicated in Corine's disappearance. Which I have written quite a bit of Malik's storyline in. I won't spoil anything, but it's exciting. I've also started writing quite a bit of Corine's ex-boyfriend's storyline, which I feel like those are the 2 biggest people of interest besides Corine's academic rival and maybe one other person. I don't know. I'm forgetting everyone who exists in this world because I haven't made them yet. That is going to be something that happens post creation of all the builds. Once I create all the builds and get them all nice, I will add the people in. And then I have to do the whole decorating for Thanksgiving and Halloween in every single lot that I think would have decorations for it. And do all the tool mod stuff to make the world a little more in-depth, which is something I'm the most nervous about, is going through with tool and moving stuff off lot and creating a more in-depth world. I'm not good at tool. I'm not well versed in it. And it's just difficult to use. And lately it hasn't been working well for me. So we'll see how it goes when the time comes. But hopefully I create a world that is a little more immersive than what EA has created. I mean, Brindleton Bay is one of the better worlds. I feel like in The Sims 4, it has a pretty immersive, outside world. There's a lot of items, a lot of things you can do, but it can always be improved. So we'll see how it goes. That is the plan for after the speed builds are done, is to go through, make the world a little more in-depth so that we can release the save file to be played. We'll see how much I end up changing as far as the world goes, but even on this lot, there's a bunch of empty space where I've put trees that I feel like there should be trees off lot as well. Even if I just add some more trees and maybe a few items that are functional for gameplay, I'll be good. This area of the world is really pretty. It has the beach area. So yeah, those are the plans. That is what's going to happen. February you might get one more build, and that's kind of it. And we've pretty much reached the end of the speed build. So thank you for tuning in. And if you want to see more of the Haven's Hollow save file, look forward to more episodes, whether this month or next month. Peace and love. Bye.